Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday of a long weekend. My name is Mina Jane. I am the one of the programming librarians at the Cary Library. Very happy to bring you this program on Voting 101 because it's always important to be civically engaged, but it feels like it's especially important this year. So I just wanted to let you know that we are recording, and I'll send out the video link to you at some point. And I want to thank the Library Foundation, which supports all of our adult programs. So Voting 101 is being led by Jeri Zeder, who is a Lexingtonian and a member of the League of Women Voters, who's also partnering with us on this program. And she is also a past president of the Cary Library Foundation, so she knows how great it is. And she has just been heavily involved with the voting in Lexington for a long time. And so I was really pleased that she agreed to do this. Welcome, Jeri.
Thank you, Mina. Thank you. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for watching, and thank you to Cary Library for hosting. I just wanted to begin with the issue of why it's important to vote. We seem to get very excited about voting every 4 years for president, but the truth is every election really matters, whether it's on the local level, the state level, or the federal level. And the reason it's important at all these levels of government, because elected officials at all levels of government make decisions that affect important aspects of our lives. They make decisions that affect the quality of our schools, which is all about our future. They make decisions that affect our health and safety. For example, the air that we breathe, the food we drink, the water we drink, and the food that we eat. All of that is affected by regulations that elected officials put into place. Our roads, our bridges, our public transportation systems, who gets appointed to positions of power, like who's a judge, who are nurses, our health care and Social Security. All of these things and so much more are affected by elected officials at every level of government. And there are elections every year, not just every 4 years. So this is my pitch to get you to be excited about voting every year in every election, because we vote because we want to say in who gets to make those important decisions. Voting is a powerful expression of our values and a privilege of being an American citizen. So with that pitch, let's turn to this year's election, which is happening under the cloud of a pandemic. So I'm going to start by, I'm going to go to my PowerPoint presentation to show you how we're going to get started on this. First, I have to share my screen. Sorry about that. Well, I'm looking for my PowerPoint. It's not on the screen, which is why I can't share it. Here we go. And is this visible?
Yes, I can see
Okay.
it.
All right, good. So I'll just make it a little bigger. There we are. Okay. I have to go back a few pages. All right. So you might have heard this year a lot of talk about making a voting plan, making a plan to vote. And what that means is thinking ahead before you go vote about how you're going to. So here's my list of what I think it means to make a voting plan. First is to check your voter registration. You may not be registered to vote yet. You can do that now. Or you may not be sure what your voter registration looks like, whether it's up to date. If you've moved, changed your name, want to change your party affiliation or anything like that, all of that can be done when you check your voter registration. The next step is to choose how you're going to vote. And this year, there are 3 ways to vote. One is to vote by mail. During this pandemic, laws were passed in Massachusetts to make it possible for us to vote at a social distance, and that's done by voting by mail. I know that there's been some press about voting by mail that suggests it may not be the best way to vote. I actually disagree with that. I think you can vote by mail quite safely. There are just a couple of things that you have to keep in mind to get it done properly. And we'll talk about that. Another way to vote is to vote early. There are early voting times this year, and that's what you do that in person. They happen before Election Day, and we'll talk about that if you want to vote early in person, or you can vote in person on Election Day, and we'll talk about that. The next step in making your voting plan, once you've chosen how you're going to vote, is to find out what's on your ballot. That'll give you a chance to think about how you want to vote before you're faced with your ballot, either whether you're voting by mail or you're in the voting booth. And then, of course, the next step is to go vote. So I'm going to leave this and stop share and go to another place that I'm going to share. So one piece of voting that's really important to know about is that the Secretary of State's office in all states, including Massachusetts, is the elected official who manages our elections. And the Secretary of State is assisted by election officers in cities and towns. In Lexington, our election officer is the town clerk. So the action is where the Secretary of State's website is and how to figure out your voting plan. And I thought that a good way to show you how to do this is how to use the Secretary of State's website is to just show you in real time and navigate it with you on my shared screen. So I'm going to first show you how to find the Secretary of State's website, and then how to find, because the Secretary of State does a lot more than just elections, how to find the elections division, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to screen share again. Go to my search engine. I like to use Google. And to find the Secretary of State's website, we'll go to Massachusetts Secretary State website. And here we are. Okay, I'm going to go to their homepage. Okay, here's the homepage of the Secretary of State's website. And you can see that there's a lot going on here. But what we're interested in is the elections and voting division. So if you watch my cursor, I'm going there, clicking there. And here is the landing page. Make it a little bigger. I'll minimize my screen so I can see it better. There. So here we are. At the very top of the page, you can see the 3 options for voting this year: vote by mail, vote early, and vote on Election Day, right across here. But with our plan to vote, figuring out our plan to vote, the first step was to check our voter registration. So I'm going to go to here, online voter registration, and click. Okay. Here are the options for doing what you need to do to either register or to check your registration. You can register or pre-register to vote. In Massachusetts, when you're 16 or 17, you can pre-register. You can't vote yet. You can't vote till you're 18, but you can pre-register so that you're all set to vote when you are 18. So this is what you click when you want to register or pre-register to vote. If you've moved and you need to update your address, you can click here. If your name has changed, you click here. And if you just want to check your registration information and make sure that you actually are registered, and that's a good idea to do, you can click there. Okay, so that's the first step in our making a plan to vote. I'm going to go back to the landing page. And next I'm going to talk about voting by mail. That's one of the 3 ways that we can vote this year. And that's the safest way that we can vote during the pandemic. So you see that there's a lot of redundancy on this page. There's a vote by mail thing you can click here. There's a vote by mail thing you can click here. I'm going to go to this one up at the top. Notice underneath it says apply by October 20th. That's a good idea. You actually can apply later than that, but I think it's a really good idea to apply early rather than late. And in fact, if you want to vote by mail, I would suggest after this is all over, go here and get the process started. Because in Massachusetts, you're not automatically sent a ballot. You have to first apply for your vote by mail ballot. So I'm going to click on vote by mail. And here's the page for that. Okay. Here's all the information. I'm not going to read this all to you or anything like that, but I just want to point out a few things. If you use this button here, submit a vote by mail application, you can start the process of applying to for a vote by mail ballot online. Otherwise, you can get right here, you can get a paper form that you would mail in and so on and so forth. Now you see, submit your application for a November ballot no later than October 20th. Applications received after October 28th cannot be accepted. So in other words, what I was saying before, you actually can apply up until October 28th, but it's really a good idea not to wait that long. Another thing that I'd like to point out that's important on this page is because voting by mail is so new for us this year, we may have various questions about it. And you can see right here, there's a vote by mail FAQ section. It's really thorough. I think it's worth looking at. Here we are. I'm just going to scroll down so you can see all the things, all the pieces that it covers. There's eligibility to vote by mail, how to apply, how to cast your ballot, how to return your ballot, and so on and so forth. And the way this works is, you know, you see the question, can I vote by mail? Just hit that little plus sign and you get your answer. There are two questions that I think come up a lot that I think I'd like to just touch on now, but you can come back to this later and, you know, explore it yourself. So this question, if I vote by mail, can I change my mind and vote in person? Let's see the answer. The answer is, it depends. If you mailed your early ballot back and it was accepted by your local election office, then your ballot is considered to be cast and you can't vote again. If your ballot never reached your local election office, or if it was rejected for some reason, then you can vote in person. This is another question that I think comes up a lot. If I apply for a vote by mail ballot, does it mean that I can't vote in person? No, you can vote in person as long as you haven't already voted by mail. I'll leave you to look at that and find the rest of the answer. I'm going to go back now to the landing page. Okay, whoops, I went a little too far. And another piece of voting by mail that's very important is tracking your ballot. Here's where you track your ballot. See my cursor, click there. And what you do is, I'm not going to enter any fields here. You enter your first and last name, you just follow these instructions, your street name and number and so on and so forth, and you say, show my results. Click that when you filled in all the fields. And what will come up for you is the status of your mail-in ballot. If you've applied for your ballot and they've received it already at the clerk's office, it'll show that your ballot is pending. Once you've received your ballot and you've returned it, you can go to this track my ballot page and see when it's been received and whether it's been accepted. And this will help you to know whether you need to get in touch with the clerk's office and find out more about accomplishing your mail-in ballot, or whether you have to wind up going and voting in person, which probably won't be necessary. But this is an important tool to be able to see what's going on with your mail-in ballot. And it should actually give you some comfort to know that things are moving along. Okay, so we are done with the mail-in ballot section.
Jerry, you just froze again. Do you want to turn your video off? That might help.
Used to vote.
Jerry? I'm sorry, you're coming in and out. If you can hear me, do you want to turn your video off? That might help with your bandwidth.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, stop video. Is that better?
Yeah, but we lost your screen share.
Okay, let me get it all started up again.
Okay.
All right.
Because I don't want to miss any of that last part that you just said.
Right. Okay. I apologize. So let me get this going again. I'm first getting myself set up, going to the Secretary of State's website because I lost that. And after I get all that back, I will screen share. Almost there. All right. Screen share. And here I go. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. So I'm still going back to the landing page. Okay. So where we were was we just completed seeing how to vote by mail. And now we're going to turn to how to do early voting. I'm going to point here to early voting and notice that the dates of early voting are October 17th to October 30th. Yes, October 30th. The most important pieces to know about early voting is where to do it. In Lexington, it's not in your usual polling place for your precinct, it's elsewhere, and I'll show that to you. And to know what times, because every day, even though it's October 17th to October 30th, there may be different hours. So you don't want to wind up deciding you're going to go on a certain day and find that when you get there, they're not open. So let's click on early voting. And again, we have redundancy. You can do early voting here or early voting here. I'm going to choose this one. And you've come to early voting dates and locations. So I'm going to scroll down. And to find out in Lexington about your voting times and place, you select your city or town. Find Lexington. And went past it. Here you go. And then you click show locations and dates. Okay, and here they are. All right, so you see it's October 17th to October 30th. And it's all in the same place. It's in the Cary Memorial Building at 1605 Massachusetts Avenue. That's the big, beautiful building in Lexington Center that's between the police station and the town office building in that circular driveway. And you can see, as I was saying, that each day you have to check your times because, so for example, on Saturday, October 17th, the times are 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. But on Monday, October 19th, it's from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and so on. So be sure that you check that. And again, voting early at the Cary Memorial Building is a voting in-person thing to do. Okay. So that's how you vote early. Now I'm going to go back to the the landing page of elections and voting for the Secretary of State's office. And now we're going to talk about voting on election day. As you can see, across Massachusetts, polling hours are from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Election day is November 3rd, and when you vote at the polls on election day, you're voting in person. I'm going to click on vote on election day. And the key thing here is to find out where your polling place is. This is where it will be in your precinct. So what you will do is you will put in your street name, your street number, your street name, Ave or street or whatever it is, the easiest thing to do is throw in your zip code and then you click show my results. And I have done that. I didn't want to put my own information into this publicly, so I did this ahead of time, and I'll show you what came up for me. Okay, so now we're showing for me that, well, you can see my information anyhow, whatever. I vote at Bowman School on 9 Phillip Road. You get some other information here that's interesting, like the town clerk's office phone number and how to email the town clerk. And I want to talk about this for a minute, your state election ballot. Now, this is important for any way that you vote. If you want to take a look at your state election ballot for whether you're voting in person or voting by mail, this is where you do it. So I'm going to just click here so you can see, and this is what'll be on the ballot. And you can think about who you want to vote for. It gives you instructions, vote for not more than one, and so on. Goes all the way down, and it even includes the ballot questions that we are facing this year. Massachusetts has 2 ballot questions. Ballot questions are actually policy questions that are posed directly to voters as opposed to going through the state legislature. And so we get to vote on that this year. One ballot question is on motor vehicle mechanical data. That's question 1. And the other is question 2 on ranked choice voting. And you can do your own research on what that's all about and decide how you want to vote. You can also Google around on these various people and see how it is that you want to vote for them. So I just wanted to show you how you could see a sample ballot. Okay, so now that we have figured out parts of our voting plan, which include checking your voter registration, choosing how you want to vote, and seeing what's on your ballot, you are all prepared to vote. I wanted to also show you a couple of other resources. One is, it's called Vote 411. This is a project of the League of Women Voters, and it's a really nice website. No matter where you are in the country, it can help you register to vote, check your voter registration status, find out what's on your ballot. What I found when I did this is it showed me what was on my ballot except for the ballot questions. So, the Secretary of State's office is still best for that. So this is a really nice resource for you to use and perhaps share with others. There's also another resource that I like, is a thing called TurboVote. I have signed up with TurboVote because it provides me with election reminders. And what I like about TurboVote is it even reminds me of little tiny local Lexington elections, which happen in March on a Monday, which is a very odd time, not a traditional time, I should say, for elections to happen. But TurboVote even picks that up. So I never forget to go vote because I get their election reminders. And that's something that's really easy for you to sign up with. Let me go back once again to the Secretary of State's website because I want to show you one more thing about the ballot questions. Right here, recent updates, statewide ballot questions. If you click here, you're going to get the PDF of this booklet. You may have received, you probably received this booklet at home, but in case you have recycled it or lost it or whatever, you can find it online and you can read up on the ballot questions. So that is, that's the sum and substance of how to vote in Massachusetts. I do want to go back to my PowerPoint presentation for a minute. I think I have to unscreen share the other thing. Stop share. And now reshare. Sorry. I'll be there in a second. going to screen share. Now I'm hoping that you can see, whoops, my PowerPoint.
Yep.
So, okay, once again, making your voting plan, we've discussed that. And I wanted to go to show you some important election dates. Voter registration, our deadline to be registered to vote is October 24th. Vote by mail, I'm putting in what I'm thinking are best practices for voting by mail rather than the actual dates that are legal for you to get all this going and done by deadlines. But I think that the deadlines are very tight. So I'm going to say best practices are to apply immediately and certainly no later than October 20th, and to mail as soon as you get your ballot by October 27th, or as soon as you get your ballot. If I were you, I'd fill it out and I'd mail it back, or use the drop box that's across the street from the town office building. So again, in that circular driveway, there's this big blue drop box that's been set up that only applications for vote by mail ballots and ballots themselves go in that drop box, and they're emptied several times a day by the town clerk's office. I would deal with that as soon as you get your ballot and put it there, and certainly no later than November 2nd. So those, again, I'm saying those are best practices. Early voting is from October 17th to the 30th, and election day is November 3rd. And then I'd just like to show you this page. All the information for voting for Massachusetts is on the Secretary of State's landing page. That's the link for it. I showed you the Vote 411 project of the League of Women Voters, and that's the link for that. To sign up for voting reminders with TurboVote, there's that link. And this is very important. If you need to reach the Lexington Town Clerk because you have other questions or you're concerned about your ballot for some reason, you can call 781-698-4558 or email the clerk at lexingtonma.gov. Okay, so I'm going to stop my screen share and see if Mina has noticed any questions that anybody has.
We haven't started getting questions yet. I think you can turn your video back on. I'll let you know if it starts going out again. But I did have a couple. One that that have come up before is that if you or somebody is out of the country, how do they vote?
Okay, I think I'm going to do the screen share again so I can show you how to find that on the Secretary of State's website. Okay, so first I have to get to that. Okay. I'm getting there. All right. Oh, this is in my way, so how do I get there? All right, I can't figure out how to make this, click it bigger, so I'll just do that. Now, this is again, the landing page of the Secretary of State's website. If you scroll down here, you're going to find voter information, and you're going to see voting for military and overseas US citizens. Click there. And this is everything that you need to know about that. I won't go reading it, but what it'll eventually lead you to is this federal postcard application. And that essentially you'll wind up clicking there, but you should read all of this. And then you can apply for your absentee ballot as someone who is overseas or in the military. So that's how you do that.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything on there about if for any reason you have an accessibility issue, how to vote? Can you have somebody with you? What kind of accommodations are there?
Sure. So yes, you absolutely can have somebody assist you. I have discussed. I'm not going to bother navigating this on the web page, but I have spoken with the town clerk about this, and you can absolutely bring somebody with you if you need somebody to translate for you, if you need just personal assistance because you have disabilities or whatever, you can bring somebody along. The only thing is that a person who works with you to help you at the voting booth, they can't influence how you're voting. They should not be telling you how to vote. They should be not be trying to change your mind. They're just there to help you figure out your ballot and do what you want to do with your ballot, because this is a secret ballot. It's up to you.
Okay. And you had said something about you can write down what you want to vote, but you can't leave it there.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So if you want a crib sheet, if you want to come to the polls prepared with how you plan to vote, because you did your homework ahead of time and you wanted to just have that to consult when you're voting, you can absolutely write all that down on a piece of paper, bring it with you, and use it when you vote. The town clerk just wants to make sure that you don't leave it in the voting booth. You should take it with you so the next person starts with a clean slate and has their own mind to make up.
Okay. I just wanted to remind our attendees that you can type your questions into the chat, or you can unmute yourself to ask Jeri directly any questions. So I'll just keep going with the questions that I have. What if you want to become a poll worker? Is it too late?
Sure. So again, that is on this web page. Make it a little more visible. Right here, it says be a poll worker. I'm going to click that and see what happens. So right now, the towns that need poll workers are listed here. Lexington is all set up apparently, but these 5 towns still would welcome getting help from poll workers. And yeah, that's how you can apply. If you'd like to apply to be a poll worker in the future with Lexington, you can reach out to the town clerk using that information I showed earlier. And they're always looking for people to help with the polls.
And you had started out with the importance of voting. And the one thing that people hear a lot is down ballot. What does that mean?
Down ballot elections, as I understand it, means anybody below president. So you're talking about Congress, you know, the U.S. Senate, the U.S. House of Representatives. You're talking about the state legislature, both houses of that, the governor, even the Secretary of State is an elected official down ballot. Way down ballot are things like the select board of Lexington, or the planning board, or the school committee, or town meeting members.
Thank you. So basically, it's really important for people to vote for every elected official because, you know, it's sort of our right to do that.
Correct. I think so. That's how I feel about it. And you know, I have a pet peeve, if anybody wants to hear it. I hear a lot about Massachusetts votes not mattering because we tend to vote in a particular way as a state, and we don't really influence the outcome of an election. And I think that there is some truth to that when it comes to the presidential elections, but I also think it's a little limited in it as a viewpoint, because who winds up on our Supreme Judicial Court in Massachusetts really can make a difference and can have national repercussions. So, you know, one example that we could use is marriage equality for same-sex couples. It was the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court that first legalized it in our state as a constitutional matter. And while that only affected Massachusetts, I think it paved the way for what wound up happening across the entire country. And when you think back to, well, who was on the Supreme Court, Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts, that those people were appointed by governors and governors' councils in Massachusetts. And who put them there? Well, the voters. So I really do think it's very important for us to think more broadly when we think about voting and how our votes matter.
And what advice would you give to somebody who is just, it's their first time voting?
I think my biggest advice, and what I'm hoping that I accomplished, or what I was trying to accomplish today, was have confidence in your ability to learn what you need to learn in order to be a voter, and get help when you need help, because it's important, and help is out there for you to look for on your own by using the internet, by calling up your town clerk, by contacting the League of Women Voters, or using other websites that are out there that assist people in voting who are first-time voters. Reach out to people that you know who are experienced voters and ask them questions. This is it's a wonderful thing that we can do this. And I hope that that was conveyed, and that you can be a confident learner as a voter.
Right. Thank you. I mean, we do have a lot of people that are, voting for the first time. And there's something about you can register to vote when you're 17 and a half. Is that what it is?
Right, I can go back and show that to you. In Massachusetts, I'm going to the online voter registration page. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit. It's called pre-registration. You can register or pre-register to vote. You register to vote when you're 18 or older, and you can pre-register when you're 16 and 17. You cannot vote when you're 16 or 17. You're not legally of age to vote, but you can pre-register, and then when you're 18, you're automatically registered. Another thing that's new in Massachusetts is automatic voter registration. So anytime you interact with the Registry of Motor Vehicles or certain other state agencies, you'll go through a process automatically of being able to vote, of registering to vote. So that's also something new in Massachusetts, and it's probably going to wind up increasing the number of people in Massachusetts who are registered to vote, which I think is a good thing.
Do we have to take some sort of ID with us to when we go vote in person?
That's a good question, and I'm a little more hazy on that. But yes, when you vote for the very first time in Massachusetts, you may be asked for a voter ID. And looking to see voter okay, here's identification requirements. So you can click there and read all about, so here we are. You may be asked to show identification, and here are the times when you will be asked that. When you're voting for the first time in a federal election, and that would be this year. If you're an inactive voter, if you're casting a provisional or challenged ballot, or a poll worker wants you to show that. And then it includes what a valid ID is in Massachusetts, a driver's license, and so on and so forth. So if you're wondering about voter ID, I would read up on it here.
Mm-hmm. And I might have missed this. I don't know. I'm getting a little feedback on me. But what about early voting? When does that start?
Oh, okay. Let's go back and look.
This is early in-person voting.
Early in-person voting. You can see right up here, October 17th to October 30th. And as I mentioned before, let's go to that page. As I mentioned before, where you vote is going to be different from your usual precinct. So if we go again to look at Lexington, there we are. Show locations and dates. Scrolling, there we are. Okay, so here is from the 17th to the 30th, where you vote in Lexington, and notice that the times that you vote may be different each day. So it's really important to check this page before you run off to vote early, if that's what you plan to do, so that you don't wind up finding that the doors are closed at the time you showed up.
My daughter asked if you can get a sticker if you early vote.
You know, That would be so cool, but this year, because of the coronavirus, they're not doing that, unfortunately. They want people to move in and out of the voting, the polling places as quickly as possible, and they don't want contact things, they don't want anybody touching stuff they don't have to be touching. So sadly, there won't be, I voted stickers given out this year.
That is sad. I'm just going to have to make her own.
I gave somebody that I know who's a new voter who wanted to get one of those stickers, and I knew she couldn't get one this year. I bought her a little pin.
Oh, that's nice. So unless we have any additional questions, Jeri, do you have any final thoughts for us?
Not really. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that once it's up online, that others will share it and other people can use it. And happy voting. And remember that you can always find answers to your questions about voting, and go ahead and find them because it's important to do.
On reputable websites.
That's right. Yes, absolutely.
So thank you.
The library can help you find.
That's right. The library can help you find, but also the Secretary of State website is probably the best repository for all of the answers to your questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Jeri. Thank you for everybody who came. And this, every election is important. Vote, vote, vote.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.